Hello and welcome to today's podcast. We are live here in the Tara Rose podcast studio in Alcuz. I am very, very excited to introduce my next guest. She is one of my own. I've watched this girl grow tremendously over the last few years. She's only worked with me for the last almost 12 months. But what I've seen in this girl is truly amazing. She's evolved from growing her self-confidence, her clientele, and now becoming part of a very, very important part of the art team for Schwarzkopf. She's now then got the most amazing opportunity to be part of Global. So today I'm going to introduce my art director, Ruth Bocock, as part of the Tara Rose podcast. Ruth, I am over the moon today. Again, I have got one of my superstars on the podcast. I've been so excited to interview you. I think, not only have you got an amazing journey, your career within the hair industry, but your personal growth is another one. And I'm really, really excited to talk to you about all your latest achievements. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. So let's start firstly. How long have you been in the UAE?
I've been in the UAE for 9.5 years now.
9.5. And how did you end up making the move out here? Tell us a little bit about your background before in the UK and how you ended up coming out here. I'm always really, really interested to hear everybody's stories about how they eventually end up here because everybody's got one.
There's always a story to tell.
Yeah,
so in the UK, I trained, went through like levels 2, 3, did an apprenticeship, loved hairdressing so much. And then decided actually to pursue my barbering career.
Amazing.
So I was working as a barber for a while and then...
Was that anything to do with the men?
Maybe. Still single, so,
Maybe I have to go back to barbering.
I know. Career change. Yeah. And then I actually went and lived in Ibiza for a season and I was doing wedding hair.
Amazing.
For people's weddings, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And just living in Ibiza was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I was actually on my way to Salon International when I'd got back. I was on the train up to London and it was raining and it was cold.
I know, and that's like, what, October time?
Yeah, beginning of October. And I just got back from the best summer in my life.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was going to be working for said that one of his friends needed female British barbers in Dubai and would I be interested? And I literally, like a sad music video, looked out the window on the train and I was like, yeah,
that's it.
I didn't even turn my head back round. I was like, yeah, I'll go.
I think that's it. I think once you've actually made the decision to travel away from the UK and you've lived in the sun and you see that there's sort of different options out there. I think it's very hard. It's very hard to go back.
Absolutely.
So tell me firstly, like through school and stuff, were you academic? Did you, because I think, a lot of hairdressers, and this is one of the things that I talk about a lot, like did miserably at school, and I think that was why I got into hairdressing because, I felt part of something and part of a career and not being the person that sort of struggled through school. Was that the same case for you?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say I hated school. I liked it for the social aspect.
Yeah.
And the art and like textiles, things like that. But
so you always had that creative flair.
Yeah, the core subjects I just struggled with because I just had no interest in them whatsoever.
No, I know.
And it just, I don't know, like reading things that are boring and they're boring to me, it doesn't go in my brain.
No, I know. And
whereas if I'm doing something with my hands, it just
really inspires you. And I think this is a big thing, and I do see things evolving a lot now through, education systems and stuff like that, especially out here we have so many more options, whereas the British curriculum is very much catered to that way. So we got in, you did your college course, you did your level 1 and 2 in hairdressing and then
3.
got into 3
and
then got into barbering and then, tell me, how long were you barbering for and where were you working when you first arrived?
So when I first arrived, I was working in like a male grooming shop in DIFC.
I mean, back then, that was difficult to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was in DIFC, so the laws were different. It was like a free zone.
Yeah.
I worked in there and I hated it.
You hated it.
Absolutely hated it.
What do you think it was? Do you think it was the aspect, I mean, I think moving from working in salons in the UK to coming out here, I think it's very, very different. There are two different types of salons, I think. There are a lot of salons that are owned by businesses and it's very corporate. So was that the case?
That's what I found. It was owned by someone who wasn't in the industry. It was managed by someone who wasn't in the industry. And it was run as a corporate business and not as a creative space. It was very conveyor belt work. And I also very much felt like a worker instead of part of
something.
Yeah, part of the industry that I love. And it actually really put me off of the industry.
I get it.
And I attempted to do real estate for 3 months.
Did I tell you I did that as well?
Did you? And now look at us.
I know. And I get it. Like for me, when I moved out here, you know, I really, you know, struggled with myself and places to work. And I was so put off because I was like, you know, I feel like I've got no free time. I'm a number. And I really, really am starting to fall out of love with my job. So yeah, I tried real estate. I only lasted 1 month.
Were you really bad at it as well?
Really, really bad.
I was so bad because I was so honest. They'd be like, "Oh, the kitchen's horrible." I'm like, "Yeah, oh my god, isn't it?" That's not how you sell houses, guys.
No, that's not it. That's not it. But okay, so you did. How long did you do that for?
3 months.
3 months. So
I didn't do anything. I didn't like make any deals. I just stuck it out for 3 months.
Stuck it out. I think it's, you know, it's another very, very tough industry, real estate out here. You know, you can do very, very well from it, but it takes a long time to sort of get anywhere with it. And you've got to be passionate about it. Oh my God,
you've got to be. And you've got to be really driven
Yeah.
to make money. And as much as I am, I never went into hairdressing for the money. No one ever does.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh my God, I'm going to be a hairdresser because I'm going to make loads of money. That's not.
It's the passion, isn't it?
Yeah.
The creativity. So you then went to work on for another salon, which you stayed there for quite a few years.
I was working under that salon group for about 7.5 years, actually.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And you, within that, I mean, you entered as a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And then you worked your way up within that company.
Yeah, I ended up managing a salon for just over 5 years, actually.
Yeah, amazing. And
So
I think,
stressful.
you know, I mean, yeah, it's not easy. It's really not easy, definitely.
No.
But I think, you know, I knew you back then and, you know, you could see how driven you were. You know, it's difficult when you're at the top to keep yourself motivated. You know, not only have you got to manage a team, keep everybody else motivated, but to keep yourself inspired, you know. And I think that was one of the things that really drew me to you, you know, was that you didn't, you know, you were going out and you were getting, you didn't really understand truly now the aspect of it.
Yeah.
But you knew that you had to push yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and there you went on to become, you know, you got noticed by Schwarzkopf. You went in and did one of their key courses. And I think, you know, very, very early on, your passion and everything got noticed very quickly, which then led to you being part of the Schwarzkopf art team. I mean, how long ago was that? That was...
Probably about 3 years ago now, maybe pushing 4.
I think it's more like 4. It's got to be.
Oh, it is. It's 4 years this year. Well, it's 4 years since I did the course this year.
Yeah.
Because it was the first like course after COVID, after we got back, and it was the first course of its type.
Yeah.
And I was so hungry for anything creative.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously showed.
And it definitely did, you know. But the thing is as well with creativity and the opportunity that you created for yourself there, it's not easy, you know. And I think this is one of the things that I want to highlight today and talk about a lot, that when you get noticed for these things and these opportunities, especially creative roles, it's not always a paid deal. You know, you've got to do a lot of work for free in the beginning. You've got to put a lot of your own time in. And that is ultimately how you get to the next level. I think, you know, so many people forget. They think that things are going to get handed to them on a plate, you know, and people forget that people are watching all the time, you know. So every time you go to a course, every time you go out and represent somebody else, there are people always watching, and you create your own opportunities. And I believe there you really, really did, you know, and that was where the art team evolved for Schwarzkopf.
Yeah.
How long, you know, you've worked with other product providers in the years, but, you know, you've been working with Schwarzkopf, obviously, from a colour perspective for quite a long time. Tell me about your... you know, how you feel about Schwarzkopf here and the support that you get, and how much you feel it's differed from other brands out here.
So I'll tell you how I ended up working with Schwarzkopf. We were using another colour brand at the time, which...
no names mentioned.
If anyone's been in the UAE long enough, they'll know that there's just a, you know, there's no support. It's like you're ordering off InstaShop, basically. It was really, and this is going back years. This is like over 8 years ago.
Yeah,
it
so
was
it's
just
very different then.
such a different place.
And I think for anybody listening outside of the UAE, a lot of the product companies out here are run by distribution companies. They're not solely from the brand, are they? And it's the same with Schwarzkopf here. It is under a distribution brand. But yeah, carry on to say the difference.
So this lady randomly came into the salon and was like, we're having this event for the relaunch of Schwarzkopf. And at the time I was like, all I could think about was like the hairspray, right? And like the little old lady salons. I was like, what? I was like, fine, I'll go. There was like free food. I was like, I'll go.
And again, for anybody that doesn't know Ruth, she loves a bit of a free snack.
I just love a snack. So I went with no...
Yeah, you didn't have any sort of, no, what's the word? You didn't, you weren't thinking, no.
Yeah, I didn't know what would come from it. I didn't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word?
You didn't have any, not intention. It'll come to me in a minute, sorry, having a blank moment.
Oh my God, I'm having a blank moment. So anyway, I went and the event was amazing and their global ambassador, Leslie, was there.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And honestly, I was so captivated. I was just there, like, nearly jaw on the floor, like, oh my God, like, I've missed this so much. I've missed the passion, like, the inspiration.
Yeah. And that was back then, and they were in a different academy back then. The academy was a lot smaller.
Yeah. But they were really small, and they were, like, doing kind of a global relaunch of the whole brand, really. And I went back to the salon I was working in at the time and I was like, we have to get these colours in. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, I don't want to work with another brand. I can be a bit of a brat sometimes. And,
Really, Ruth?
when I've got my mind set on something, I know what I want. And I was just like, this is just... we need to be a part of this because I could tell
there was nothing at all.
But even the community at that event between the people that worked for the company, I was like, we have nothing like this and we're so hungry for it here. So I got my own way, believe it or not. and then I would spend all my days off going to all of their training courses, even if it was the most basic of courses, just so I could play with the different portfolio of colours and be around other creative people.
I think you have always been, since I've known you, since you've worked with Schwarzkopf, you've always been in on your days off. You've always been playing around with content. You've been doing colour swatches, like, when you were before, like, you would go above and beyond in terms of content creation, looking at how to, be inspired. And I think... that's very difficult for one person alone to do, One-man band. But, I think you can really see, and that really did shine through for so many people. I definitely noticed it. I really
enjoy it, though. Like, I love it. There's not... obviously, people have their off days, but I love what I do. I hate calling it work. I hate calling it a job. Like, my passion is so obvious when I speak about things. Like, you can't fake these things. I'm actually obsessed with our industry. Yeah. And
that's nice to see. It's really refreshing,
I always think back to those 3 months in real estate. And because that original salon made me hate
it.
Hairdressing and then just re-evaluate my whole life.
So would you say that was a key moment then? Obviously, you'd gone into a salon and you were managing and stuff and you were working with a different product distribution company. Would you say that, obviously you'd started to get a lot of your passion back, but you can say obviously from a global level, the relaunch with Schwarzkopf is where you started to really...
Absolutely. I felt like I was reborn as a hairdresser because I knew I was passionate before, but I had no drive towards it. Yeah. It was there, but I didn't know where to
or how to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was always, I kind of just thought it was a personality trait of mine. But
well, I think, as hairdressers and creative people, it's something that we struggle with anyway. We're all on or all off, So... that's great that was able to do that for you. So obviously that's the creative side, and we will go more into that. Let's talk about client journey. Let's talk about being in the salon every day, because obviously you've got two hats. You've got your creative hat where you're working for Schwarzkopf and all the fabulous things that we'll talk about in a minute. But then equally your role as art director and sort of spending time with your clients, they obviously they all come into one. But, you know, equally again, so you are very passionate about the creative side. But one thing I love about you is you are very, very passionate about your clients, their experience, the client journey from start to finish. A lot of hairdressers just focus on their job. But you are very, very much involved and, you know, see the full client journey and the importance of it. Do you want to talk a little bit about, have you always been like that? Or is it something that, you know, as you've evolved as a person and your expectations, you believe that, you know, how important it is?
I think it's a bit of both, really. The salon that I trained in back home, I can still hear my boss and my manager now, and some of the things they would say. And at the time, I'd be rolling my eyes as a 16-year-old, like, come on, no one's like, take it. But I hear myself saying them now, and I'm like, oh my God.
It's me.
But
it's
firstly,
so true.
like, my clients mean absolutely everything to me. Like,
You have a great relationship.
I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
They push me as much as I push myself. Some of them have been doing their hair over 8 years.
Yeah.
They have seen the evolution of me, the good and the bad and the ugly. And they're still here and they still love me. And I just feel like that speaks volumes, and I'm as loyal to them as they are to me.
And I think that's a big part of it, isn't it? I think once you built those relationships, it's like, you know, bringing your nan in or your sister in to a salon, you know, you want them to have the full experience. You want them from start to finish, I think, you know, and when you really understand, it's not just about doing somebody's hair, it's about growing relationships. You understand, you want them to have start to finish the best experience.
Yeah, like it's quite, I find it, people get quite intimidated going into salons, like, especially as women, like we go through, you know, we have our off days, we're not feeling our best, to then go in a salon filled with other women and hairdressers that full makeup, hair done every day. Like, it's not... And then sitting in front of a mirror...
I know, it's difficult.
Like, you have to be able to make that person feel safe in that environment and make them feel good about themselves. And it's honestly the most powerful tool. Like,
absolutely. And I think
without a doubt, my favourite.
Absolutely, because when you see they're happy, you get so much fulfillment from it as well, you know. And I think this is why, you know, obviously as a salon and everything, we take it seriously, and we understand that people joining the company equally have to understand this part of it, because, you know, there is a lot of people within the industry where they just go to work, they do hair and they go home, you know, which is great for them and that's what they want to do. But equally, again, it's not sustainable. You know, if you want to grow a business, you want to grow a clientele, and you don't want to have to be completely always looking for new clients, you've got to take this seriously, you know. So it's, you know, it's I think it's it's something that people, like you say, these 16-year-old girls roll their eyes, client journey, you know. It's like, I know we talk about it a lot in general, but it's the same as when you go to a restaurant, you know, expectations are high.
That's the phrase I always re-say. You wouldn't go to a 5-star restaurant and expect this, but it's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's not just doing somebody's hair, it's about giving them advice.
100%.
How you make somebody feel, you know, talking about future visits.
Luxury is a feeling at the end of the day, and making someone feel value in themselves when they look in the mirror, like that. You can do highlights all day long. They could be the best highlights in the world, but if you've not got a connection with your client, they are not going to feel like they're valued, and they're not going to value themselves.
Yeah. Amazing. What a lovely way to put it. Aren't you lovely?
I try. Sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, so we've got two sides of the business. We've got obviously the clients and obviously building a busy clientele. And then we've got the creative side. I think one thing that we want to talk about here is obviously between two sides of the business, it's about creating content. It's about understanding that as now hairdressers and building your business within a business and building, you know, opportunities for more, content creation is a huge part, no matter how, and I know you're a love-hate, like you love it, but you equally hate it because it's frustrating. Tell me, how long have you realised it's how important it is to be able to create amazing content for not only the creative side of the business, but equally, again, to create, you know, your personal brand within a company?
Yeah. So I would definitely say for quite a while I have known it's important. But definitely to start with, the millennial in me that grew up with having a shop window and like flyers in the local newspaper, I was being very stubborn. Another one of my wonderful traits. I was being stubborn with it because I was like, I don't.
We've got
like,
two there. We've got a stubborn and brat.
But I was like, I shouldn't have to do this. Like,
no, I know.
And
I think it is as well. You know, when we're being stubborn and we are rejecting against it, do you know what it is? It's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's fear-based because
fear and frustration.
Fear and frustration because we're not sure how to do it. And when we don't get something the first time, so many people give up.
Yeah.
And that's where people fall off the wagon, you know. So it's amazing that you understood that. But I think once you really understand what the underlying factors are behind something, you can sort of try to overcome it.
100%. And just practice makes perfect with that. I know it might appear like I'm confident on camera and my friends will always laugh like, she's taking pictures of herself again. Yeah. But I wasn't always like that. No. And I'm like that now because it forces me to step outside of that comfort zone. Yeah. And now the fear has gone.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, you know, and that's good. And I've only really seen that, like, you've been confident. But I would say really only in the last 12 months as well, you've fully gone into talking on camera, you know, trying a different style of videos. You know, you're always looking at ways to evolve, which I think is really, really important, you know. So tell us, obviously, do you want to share with us your Instagram handle as well, obviously?
It's rainbowsby_Ruth.
Yeah, and you've honestly, I think, you know, from being dedicated to creating content and pushing you out of your comfort zone, this is where then you've now managed to get other opportunities. So anyway, you've worked with me since
nearly 12 months now.
God, it's gone quickly.
I know, it's so quick.
Yeah. And I think we were friends before that. Yeah. You know, and I think what was really, really nice, and obviously I think a big part of it is I've always tried to support people that don't even work within the salon.
Oh my God,
I think it's really important that, you know, and you understand that now we've got a great network of other people that work in other salons where we all support each other, you know, and I think that's really nice as well, isn't it? Because so much of the time within our industry, people see other people as a threat and as competition.
That's not how it should be at all, and that's never how I viewed it. And definitely because we've both been in the UAE for many years now, like the growth of the industry out here has kind of happened really quickly. And there's an amazing group of us that are friends and support each other.
And I do believe that's how
there is another side to it.
But if you really look at that, though, let's stop you there for a minute. Like, so that idea and that mentality behind it of where we've all come together, you know, there's a few of us. Look at how much everybody has grown within that circle. And then you equally look at the people that don't have that mentality and they're no further forward.
Yeah, no, they're still... And it must be a very lonely place, seeing everyone as competition. Yeah. Strong women support strong women and men.
And men. That's it, definitely. Okay, so we've been working with me for the last 12 months, obviously art director within the company. You've come into Alcuz. So tell us a little bit. We had a big win back at the beginning of the year. This has been a competition that you have had your head into for so long. Yeah. It's always been a big dream to win it. How many times had you entered it?
This was the third time.
So for anybody, we're talking about the Professional Beauty Awards, and it was Colour Technician of the Year. I think for me, these competitions are so important because if you think back to the first year you entered, to the second year you entered.
Which, by the way, Tara forced me to enter. I wasn't going to enter. I'd got in my head about it and I was like, no. Now the time the salon
the deadline was that day. I said you better get that entry in
honestly,
today,
I've never been so scared in my life. But the salon I was working for, I was putting all my focus into that. I'd entered the salon, the team. Another one, then I was like, no, I'm not going to worry about myself. Like, I don't like one of my pictures. I was making excuses. And the voice note I got from you was, you better enter, do it right now, stop being ridiculous.
Might have been a couple of swear words as well.
There definitely was. I'm being very
prim and proper today. Because I understand the journey of that, you know, and again, because, you know, you were doing everything, you were entering all the other awards. It's hard. It's really hard. The entries are hard. Trying to support everybody else is hard, but equally, again, you know, it's that it's that self-doubt, I think, that stopped you from doing that. It was one image that you didn't like.
Yeah.
So rather than just putting it in there in the fear of rejection.
It's fear of failing and rejection, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's not nice at all. And, you know, if the salon didn't get through, it doesn't matter because it's not actually my salon, but that's my work and that's my name. And
it's hard putting yourself out there. But you did.
I did, and I got through to the final.
But this year was the year that you won it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
lots of tears were crying.
I know, but I mean, the thing is, what was so nice is when something means so much to you and you know what work you put into that and you know the things that you have overcome to put yourself out there, it's absolutely you're going to feel like that.
And it's not easy to get a collection together, to do a photo shoot, and it's a kind of one-shot kind of thing. You can enter the next year and the next year, but at the time, it's like these 4 images need to perfectly describe what I...
Yeah. And I think with something like that as well, you're putting yourself out there in front of people.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, within our industry, people, you know, have their visions of what they think is creative, what their look should be, you know. So what you may do, not everybody would always
Absolutely.
like. You know? And I think with that as well comes a lot of negativity.
Absolutely.
Which is very, very difficult as well. But yeah, you did it. So obviously we're now getting prepared again for the second year.
Yes.
We obviously know as working for the Tara Rose brand, once you've won once, you've then got to go for 3 times in a row. No pressure.
So that I get a big award like yours.
That's it, like a big one. Emma as well. I was like, what do you mean you're not in? I was like, well, I'll leave that decision to you.
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract. So that's amazing. That's been great. So obviously talking about being creative here, you know, it's hard to always find that inspiration, isn't it? You know, as a creative person. And I think personally, you know, when you are on a high from something, we're always looking at ways, where do we find this inspiration from, you know? And tell us about how difficult that can be as well, you know, obviously trying to keep, you know, on a positive as well. But I mean, out here, like, how do you find to try and keep yourself inspired, you know? And I think it's quite good to be quite open about how you do have slumps as well, you know, because I think we, you know, as creative people, you know, and in a big role, you know, we're supposed to be this, we're supposed to be that. But equally, again, you know, we have hard days, you know, life gets in the way.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, sort of how to keep motivated, because I think that is one of the hardest things.
It's definitely been a long journey and one that I'm still working on a lot. I'm doing a lot of work on it because when I would have slumps before or like creative block, like you think you're broken when you're a creative person and all of a sudden
you're like, I'm not working,
what's going on? You don't see the difference between one thing or the other and you have no inspiration towards it. You're like, oh my God, this is it. I'm broken forever. Like, because you don't know how to turn it back on when it's gone.
No, and you think maybe that's it.
Yeah. And it does come back. And what I tend to do is just a bit of self-care.
I think this is it. And I'm glad that you said this. I think it is when we're trying to do too much, and I've had to speak to you a few times, you try and do too much, you're trying to fit too much in. Like, it's really, really important that we make mental time for ourselves. We have to remove ourselves. You have to have a day to yourself. You have to go away. You have to travel, you know.
Or buy something nice.
No, not that one. We're working on things, like she said. But I think, you know, it's so easy when you're trying to achieve, and this is what I've seen you, you know, consistently you're trying to get to the next level you're trying to achieve, and I've been there, and I am there myself consistently in other areas of things, that if we're not doing it, we feel like we're failing, you know. But equally, again, when we're consistently trying to move in the moment, we're not making enough time for ourselves, which then leads to burnout, and it also leads to creative blocks, like you say, especially for me as well. Like I said, at the minute, when I'm in the day-to-day of things, I can't focus on where I want to take things.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, like, do you find that that's, you know, this year has been one of these...
This year's been a huge turning point for me personally and in my career.
And I think you recognise it now, don't you? Whereas you would never see it before.
I never used to... Going back to the mindfulness thing, like I spend a lot of time reflecting on where I've been, like, in previous years. Not in a negative way, but like, oh my God, like this is what I wanted this time last year and now I'm living it. I think I always used to live like... I would tick one thing off and then be like, right, what's the next thing? Like, I need to do that. And I'd have no time to kind of celebrate myself.
I think because it's being in the moment, and I think you were very similar to me in that way, that we're not okay being still, because then we have really time to think about who we are.
Yeah, and
you know,
I feel like I'm being lazy and like
you can go into a bit of like panic mode. If I'm not achieving, what is everybody going to think? And equally, I'm not okay with being okay with my thoughts.
Yeah. It's okay to have a day off.
It's okay to have a day off. So tell me again, obviously moving on from that, you know, taking a bit of mindfulness, like where did you learn that you need to do these things about mindfulness and the way we think? Because so many people go through life not understanding. They believe that, you know, they're just existing and running off, you know, not taking that time to understand that you can reframe. You can, you know, if you want to put your mind to something, you can achieve it. Like, where did you start to really understand these things?
I'm very, very lucky. I've got an amazing group of friends around me, and I'm open to an extent, and I'm talkative, and with my clients, just having like conversations day in and day out, and realising that actually it's not just me that thinks like this, and everyone is in a similar kind of frame of mind.
Do you think that is more a here thing than the UK? Like, you know, so your group of friends here are more, would you say, and your clients here, your conversations would definitely be different here?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I really believe anyone that has left their home country and moved to a different country has a different mindset. They're so much more open and willing to work on themselves because they've left a situation that maybe they didn't necessarily like, and they've sought out better. So that's like the first step, really. Even many of us might not realise that at the time.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
That is the first step to happiness.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I love about living in the UAE is the circle of people that you can, you know, everybody seems to be a lot more open-minded than, you know, I only ever lived in the UK before, but the conversations that you're having,
I find it negative, like in the UK.
Yeah, I think it can be for a number of different reasons. The news and the weather.
Definitely the weather. Well, the rain's what made me move here.
That little look out the train.
I know.
Okay, so fabulous. So let's now, obviously,
also, just on that,
Yeah.
you helped me a lot with things like that, because you would always try and hold me accountable.
Yeah.
When I don't want to hold myself accountable, so that helps.
I know,
Having someone on your side that pushes you to explore different things, I guess.
Yeah, just keeping. I think that's nice that you've said that, because that's one of the hugest, and that's what I really tried to sort of showcase or help people with. Is my life was so different when I thought differently, you know, and again, the more we think outside the box and keep an open mind, things may work, things may not. You know, let's not beat ourselves up if it doesn't. It's a lesson. So that's good. You know, it's nice to have you part of that, because you've definitely seen a real, you know, a real evolution of you in the last
different month by month. Like, you know how you get the time hop pictures on like Facebook and things. Like, but I'm doing that with my life and life events. I'm like, oh my God, this time last year, like,
it's crazy. And I think when you're in the moment, you don't always see.
No.
And I think this is what's really good about you. You know, if you have had a bad day or something, you will go back, you will reframe. Whereas the old you may not have done that, and that's where you start to
myself a deeper hole.
And start to spiral.
Yeah. Whereas every day's a new day now, and if I'm having a bad day,
which is normal,
they're less often than they used to be. But if I've had a bad day, I get an early night, I have a bubble bath, wake up and see how I feel. 9 times out of 10, I'm fine. I was just a bit cranky. But
probably
if I'm
hungry.
not, then I'll probably needed a snack. But if I'm not okay, then I'll do something about it. I'll address the situation, or I'll change something. But honestly,
and you're really into your like fitness and stuff now, aren't you? I think that plays a massive part in mental well-being.
100%.
You have to get your body moving.
I'm a Pilates dog mum.
Pilates dog mum. You certainly are.
I am. I just need like the Range Rover now or the Porsche. Next year. Next year's goals.
So that's amazing that you recognise that, because I think, you know, so many people don't, you know, if something isn't working, 9 times out of 10 most people just continue doing it. But I think it's really looking at, it's okay to make mistakes, they're lessons, but if you continue doing something that makes you feel bad, you've got to look at it. And you've got to change what you do. You either reframe your mind, or you have to look at, okay, what is this? What is the reason why? So anyway, moving forward, going back to the creative role and Schwarzkopf, you have been part of the art team for how long now?
3 years, I think.
3 years, yeah. And you've had some amazing opportunities with them. Again, that comes from, you've had to grow as well, your confidence a lot. If you remember your first time on stage, to now, and,
it's like a different person. And that's why, like, I have a little giggle inside when people are like, oh, here she goes again, filming her content on the camera, because the me 3 years ago literally nearly collapsed on the stage. I had to lean against a chair because my legs were like shaking, and I was just like, oh my God.
Because it is scary.
It's terrifying. You're stood there for everyone. You've put yourself on parade with your work.
And the thing is with something like that, and I remember feeling exactly the same. I couldn't have team meetings. I couldn't do, really, really was scared about talking in public. But again, it's a mindset thing. Like, nobody really cares. It's a you thing.
I think because I care so much about what I'm doing, it's not even necessarily what people think. It's I'm so happy that I've been put in this position on stage. Like, it's such a big thing for me. And because I'm now celebrating every little win, I make it into such a big thing. So then when I am on stage, I'm like, oh my God, it's a massive thing. Whereas people probably scrolling Instagram on their phone, But I'm like, oh my God, this is like an Oscar moment.
I think this is the thing. I think anything that you do, you have to do it for yourself. And that's a really good thing there. Like, that's a big moment for you, And anything we do in life, it's about overcoming these things for you, So again, there with this role, really see, to be able to keep a role, you've got to keep pushing yourself. You've got to keep growing. You've got to keep evolving. You've got to keep getting better, or you won't get the opportunities, So obviously we've done a few stage shows with the Schwarzkopf art team, obviously colour specialist. So I think the latest big achievement, let's talk a little bit about that. You had the opportunity here to do the Colour Crafters here in the UAE, which has then led to really, really exciting news that you've been chosen by the global team to go and represent in Mexico in October.
I literally still can't believe it.
Tell us, this is something that you have had as one of your goals for how long?
About 2 years now, since they started doing it, really. I'm not sure if last year was the first one. Whenever they started doing it, I was like, I need to get there. This is what I want. Everything in my power at the moment is driving me towards, that is my, not end goal, but that was
a big part.
Yeah, you need something to focus on, especially when you're trying to grow your social media and content creation. And I think actually this is where a lot of people probably struggle with it, because it's like, why am I doing this? To please others?
And Ruth, let's just have a little bit of a talk about this. Me and you have had some conversations over the last couple of months. You've been very, very frustrated. With, you're consistent with your content creation, but you got to the point where you were like, I hate this, I'm not getting, my followers aren't growing, but they were growing. Your interaction was always great with your reels. But I think this is what can be quite demotivating, can't it? It's like, need to be seen to have so many followers to be able to create opportunities. But I think, for you, it was, I think when you're trying to create social media, again, you've got to take it back to creating it for you.
And I think we lost sight of that.
You were getting fixated on trying to create it for somebody else. Do you know what I mean? To almost get that opportunity. But I think it's really, really important. I think this is probably, I think Ben Brown taught me this, is everything that you create, you do it for you. You do it for you, and it comes from a place of authenticity, and it will always then get picked up. So I think you've, last couple of months really started to bring that back again, didn't you? And from a place of peace, which then, obviously then, has created this amazing opportunity. I think there's only 3 people chosen within the region. It's not just the GCC, it's the Africa region as well.
It's huge.
So, and you're going to be there representing from a global perspective.
I know.
Across, you'll see, they're obviously global ambassadors, So how are you how do you feel about all that to come? I mean, it's in Mexico. It's at the beginning of October.
Terrified. No, I'm so excited, but it's
a big thing as well.
It's massive, and
because
you're going to be so big for me. I'm going to be surrounded with my idols, people that I idolize, people that I watch every day. Like, if I'm lacking inspiration, I will go and look at their pages, and I'm going to be with them.
I know.
And it's absolutely, it's incredible. I can't even, I still don't think I've processed it properly, to be honest.
I think with anything like this, it's really, really difficult. But this is why I wanted to get you on today and to talk about this, because, I remember the girl that was motivating herself. You didn't have, you were entering other, the awards for team and everything. And it was that girl that wasn't going to enter Colourist of the Year, because it was, you were holding yourself back about rejection. And I think people that do meet you now see confident Ruth.
Yeah.
Think that she's this, and this. But, this is why I wanted to get you on, because that's not always been the fact. And it's still not the fact now.
No, and I've worked very hard to be able to be confident and annoying.
But again, I've seen over the last few months, and I saw before, you're not afraid to come in on your day off. You're not afraid to do something for free. You're not I've seen you offer, opportunities out to travel with Schwarzkopf, to travel, to other countries, just to get the experience, and just to be around that mindset. And this is the thing, I think people forget that things just get handed to you, but it's the work that goes on behind.
People don't see the hard work that
they just see
that
the
goes into
result.
it. They're like, oh, well, she's got this now and she's got that. But it's been 4 years in the making.
Absolutely.
And I had no idea this was even on the plan
on
for
the
this
cards.
year, on the cards. It's a goal, but that was a 5-year kind of goal.
But honestly, it is, I said, you create your own opportunities. You have to stay consistent. Sometimes it gets really, really difficult, but you've got to get back up.
Absolutely.
And you've got to keep pushing.
And you've got to learn from people, and you've got to, that's where I get my inspiration. So if I am, if I have got a free day or a day off, and there's someone that I really like their work or they inspire me, I will go and offer to shadow them or work with them. If someone's doing a photo shoot, I'm like, let me come and assist you, because that's how I
That's
learn.
how you get motivated. And I think that's the thing. So many people aren't prepared to go the extra mile with things.
Yeah,
the head gets in the way, or why do I have to go and do that for free? I think
it's my day off.
It's my day off. I think that is ultimately how you will always get into sort of the top 5% of what you do. It's about doing the things that people wouldn't normally do.
100%. I do need to have stronger boundaries with some things, but definitely not afraid to work on my days off.
No, and that's good. It's good. So obviously we've got this coming up. So tell me now about, so we've got, what next for Ruth? Obviously your creative roles, I mean, I think you were sort of struggling at one point, what is the direction I want to go in? Is it education? Is it creativity? Is it, I think we're always still evolving, aren't we? And I think 1 minute we think one thing, and then the next we think...
Wow, if you think back to just over a year ago, I was coming to you, talking to you about me opening my own salon.
That's it. Oh, no,
Imagine.
It changes.
Wow.
I think if you'd have done that, you never would have got the time to be able to...
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that we understand...
And the mindset I was in when I was thinking of doing that, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And again, if it wasn't for you,
I know.
having a frank conversation with me...
Yeah. And I think this is the thing.
That.
Yeah, it's we try and do things because we think that that's what we should be doing, and obviously that's when we're friends and stuff like that. You just have to, maybe just highlight a couple of things, and then it's still your decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I'm over the moon that you came to work with me. The opportunities for more, we're just at the beginning. We obviously have the academy space, the creative roles within Schwarzkopf. For me, it's about being around the right people.
Absolutely. It makes
the right
such
people.
A difference.
And the sky is the limit. So obviously that's the main focus for now.
Yeah.
And then obviously let's see where this takes us. Very, very exciting. It's a role that could take you in so many different places. Yeah. Equally, again, we've got the academy side of things as well, which will evolve as well. So, yeah, congratulations on all your
Thank
achievements.
you.
Obviously, now we've got professional beauty to enter, and
Yeah.
you've got this. You've got a busy couple of months ahead of you.
It's always busy. There's no downtime anymore.
No.
Like, at all.
Just comes round so quickly,
like,
doesn't it?
Even the summer isn't. I'm like,
I know.
I'll get a week or two in August when everyone's left. No one's leaving.
I don't. This is the thing. I think this summer is very, very different. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because I always used to spend like at least a week in the summer, like planning for like Q4.
Yeah.
There's
No
not
time.
really. Obviously, I have to find time now, but it's not a downtime where
Yeah.
my focus can be less on.
No, I think it's very much not how it used to be here.
No. Which is good because
Which is
it's more
good.
consistent.
Yeah, definitely.
But the year just flies by. The months roll into them, and before you know it, the entries are open for professional beauty again.
And you're off to Mexico.
And I'm off to Mexico.
Well, Ruth, do you know what? Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having
And
me.
sharing your story, because again, it's so important that we can share the story with, other people, other hairdressers looking to grow their careers. Equally, again, people that are thinking of maybe making a move to another country. So thank you for sharing your story. It's not always easy. We always come from a bit of a bumpy start in the beginning as hairdressers, but you truly can. I believe we have the most amazing industry.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're into, whether it's creative, whether it's educational, whether it's business, we can really, really grow and evolve within it. So thank you for making time for me today.
Thanks for having me.